How's it going, everybody? Johnny Styles here with the Wellness Observer Live, joined by Andrew Bukowsky from Muscle Insider, and we're going to be covering the 2024 New York Pro Wellness. We're going to talk about him real quick. Some of the girls, some issues, what's going to happen, who do we think is going to end up once again, top two, top three, maybe top four. So, Andrew, how's it going all the way up there in Canada?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? I should say first.
All good down here in sunny Florida. There's no cold weather up here.
Yeah, we had some nice weather, but it's just starting to turn a little bit now, but that's all right.
All right. So we got a lot of news to cover here today, starting with the new, here comes a new challenger. Giselle Machado joins the list of the New York Pro. And it seemed for a second there we were not gonna have Giselle on the list, but it turns out that at the very last second she joins in. What are your thoughts on this late entry?
I don't know. It's kind of surprising. I mean, I was caught off guard when I pulled up the list. Usually I wait till the Monday before show day to get a real idea of who the final list is. And with it having her off on Monday, like I said, it was kind of shocking to see that she wasn't going to be in the show. And then I only found out yesterday when you posted about it that she was a late addition to the lineup. So uh, I don't know what happened, but
Yeah.
it's good to see her on stage.
Yeah, I
But
think
always strange to see a late entry like that.
yeah, I think like I said, I think the real winners here are the fans because the fans
Yes.
wanted her to be up there again with Elisa Alcantara from the Dominican Republic. And I believe the IFBB Pro League and the NPC are doing a good job with the contracts ahead of time for the shows because in past years some competitors were really sneaky. They expected the list to come out and then they would jump into the show. So what are your thoughts on the league trying to assess the situation?
I think they're doing a really good job. Like I said, I don't know what the circumstances with this late edition. I think there was some miscommunication through emails, from what I understand. So I think this was a rare situation that is why we saw her added on late. Um, but I think it allows everybody, when you have a certain cutoff time, whatever that is, be it a week out, um, for everybody to be honest and prepared. Like you said, you don't want somebody seeing if it's a small lineup, then thinking, okay, this is a good show for me to jump into that I have a better chance of winning. Um, I think you should just, as an athlete, be prepared. This is the
Mhm.
show I'm aiming for, and when I'm ready, I'm signing up and I'm committing to it, no matter who shows up.
Absolutely. I think one of those things Giselle did Pittsburgh, she was defending her title and lost that title, but it should be quite clear as day that she would want to defend her New York Pro title. So before we
Yeah.
jump into, what happened at Pittsburgh, I think it's really important to go back and just see exactly, how this rivalry started at the Olympia, where I have here images, of course, from NPC News Online.
Mhm.
We see to the top, the right hand side, you see Elisa right there on the green. We will see them in a minute. What did you think about these two competing at the Olympia? When you see them right here, you will see in the right hand corner. They had them side by side the entire time. You see right there in the green Elisa, and you see right there in the black Giselle. What do you think about them?
I mean, obviously, they're both really top competitors, right? So it's a tough one to call. They both have amazing physiques. It all just comes down to who's a little bit sharper on show day, right?
Right. I believe that's what it all comes down to. I believe that during the 2023 season, Giselle brought in the conditioning and the hardness, and then at the Olympia, she wasn't as hard. And then
Mm.
you bring up somebody like Elisa, which you can see clear as day here, that we're gonna be probably talking about this the entire show. It's just a matter of conditioning. Her glute and ham tie-in are, you can see them especially next to the world champ. You can see more of a relationship there with those two gluten hams. And Giselle, which we've seen her harder before, wasn't there.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also, especially wellness is a category that, because for the IFBB and even NPC and here in Canada, it's a newer category for us. I think something that's been a huge benefit is Tyler Mannion really defining what the criteria is. Where a lot of the ladies thought that I just need to get bigger and bigger and bigger in the legs, and that's not what it's about. So having that clear definition is, and that came after the Olympia. So
Mhm.
uh, I think when you have that more clear, defined picture of what you're looking for from a judge's perspective, obviously from our vice president,
Mhm.
uh, it allows athletes and coaches to really gear their training towards what you're looking for.
Right. I've always said that I've been covering this my whole life, and I've seen how the class evolves. I've always said that once it came over to America, somehow, some way, the class would evolve, would turn into a different look and outlet, with still keeping the class a little bit, paying it dues to its actual predecessor, which is a harder, bigger, look, by the way. But as we evolve into the class and we get the Franciele Matos of the world and the Isa Pereiras of the world, the Ryan Fogals of the world, these are including Giselle Machado, which I consider those four the four horsewomen of the new era of wellness, of
Yeah.
professional wellness. And I will always believe that the class would evolve into this look. But we got to remember the class is still fairly new, so we're still
Yes.
adjusting. 3 years, 4 years in. Then we come now to 2024, the Pittsburgh Pro, the President's Show. Elisa and Giselle meet up one more time. Here are the pictures on NPC News Online. And what did you see from this show firsthand?
Again, a tight one, but I think Elisa just came a little bit sharper. Conditioning was a little bit tighter. They both again have great shape. But again, it all comes down to those fine tuning moments. Um, it's funny. I think about I was watching Steve Weinberger talk about with Nick Walker at his guest posing at the show, and everyone's saying like, how is he going to be ready a week later in New York? And Steve said it doesn't matter what you look like the Sunday before or the Friday before. It matters, or even the Sunday after. It matters what happens on actual show day on the Saturday. Um, and there's so many factors that can go into peaking just right. Um, you know, Having competed several times myself, there's times I've peaked great and I've peaked too early or peaked too late, and or even spilled over some shows. So it's a fine art, and you can just see even there in that pose, the lines in the legs um, are much sharper and more defined in Elisa than Giselle, right?
Yes,
So
yes. I believe the same thing. They both have very similar structures. They're both taller and longer, if you want to call it. Some of the girls are shorter. And again, the stomach area on Elisa was a lot more sharper. She had a little bit more
yeah,
vacuum going in. They both have great shoulders. Upper bodies are great. But in the lower body, again, Elisa looked a lot sharper, especially from the side here. And I did mention that Giselle's upper glute, I believe they told her to tone it down a little bit, but it kind of backfired on her because now Elisa's upper glute is actually bigger and it
yeah,
makes it look even rounder, especially from the side. And Giselle had a great pose from the side, but now it seems like it's not even there compared to Elisa, which again, these are the things that you have to take into consideration when you take your off season and you develop these muscles, and or you tone it down a little bit. Here is when they did the battle on Pittsburgh, and again it kind of history kind of repeated itself. Those two were up there, and Elisa did look a little bit more sharper.
yeah.
That's why I think that Elisa won this show. Coming in to the New York Pro, what exactly would you advise, in your opinion, that Giselle has to do?
Well, because, like we said, they both have great shape. Um, if it is the upper glute is the factor, there's not a lot you can do in a week.
Right.
But conditioning you can drastically change in a week.
Hmm.
You'll see some people, the difference that happens in those 7 days can be outstanding. So I don't think it's safe to say it's a runaway for Elisa.
Hmm.
She's always in that running,
Hmm.
and because I think most of the factor is over conditioning, um, we'll have to just wait to see what happens on show day on Saturday.
I believe so. So I believe, again, as I said, I think Giselle still has all the potential in the world. We have seen
Yeah.
her getting this hard as Elisa. We've seen her before, and we've seen how powerful like she looks. It's just a matter of that happy medium. She probably doesn't want to be as hard, thinking that the
Mhm.
judges will not reward her. But then she ends up being too soft in a way. But
Yeah.
her overall shape and structure is so good that she overpowers over the girl. So we would have to wait and see. These two are clearly the favorites on this show. Coming in, another person that, a competitor I didn't even know was going to do the show because you already qualified for the Olympia. Canada's own Emily Azzarello. You've known her pretty well. What
Yes.
is your thoughts on Emily and since her dramatic transformation? Because I critiqued her hard a couple of years ago because I knew her potential. I knew how good she was and how good she could be if she really stuck on it. And she proved me wrong. And right now she looks really good.
Oh yeah. So I tell you, at the Vancouver Island Showdown in Victoria,
Right.
uh, she came with a passion to take that show, um, but very humble at the same time when she did win. It was really cool to see. Um, she was even able to fend off Quadzilla,
Hmm.
which
Yes, she
was
did.
which was quite the feat.
Yes.
But even when you look at it, was I think yesterday or the day before, she posted just an update of her quads and
Hmm.
just the fullness and vascularity that she's showing. I'm really excited to see what she brings on show day on Saturday.
Yeah. My
I think
my.
she is somebody that has a lot of potential.
Yes, absolutely. What she did at this show was great. If I had to pick and choose, it would be that. It would be, the conditioning can always get a little better. She is very pretty. She is very elegant. She displays her body on stage well. I mean,
Yes,
I
definitely.
would tell her to slow it down a little bit, a tad bit on the posing. Sometimes, not every time, but sometimes she looks like she's rushing a little bit, but she doesn't
In the
need to
transitions,
rush.
right? Yeah,
Right, the transition. She doesn't need to rush because
yeah.
she's so good on stage. I saw that video. I'm posting it here right now, where that conditioning, if she stays on there on stage, that would look really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean she's coached by her husband Aaron Golly, and
Mhm.
I do find that's one of those things that when you work that closely with your coach, and being your spouse, they see you every day, every minute. So there's not that lag in, I've worked with coaches that are close and distant, and as much as you can have great conversation, there's sometimes things that are lost in photos or videos that
Mhm.
you can't miss in person. So it seems like they're really dialing in what needs to happen here. Um, and I think she could be that surprise on stage on Saturday here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think when you're working with somebody so close, and I mean, her the stress is not even there because she's already qualified, so she can play
That's right.
around with little things here and there. She said here that they're eating more, and sometimes, as
Yeah.
you know, people sometimes are afraid to eat, especially leading up towards a show. And some people, when they eat more, they look even better. So I think
Oh
with
yeah.
her, since the stress is not even there, she just wants to compete in a prestigious New York Pro stage. I think we're gonna see something special.
Oh, for sure. I agree. And I mean, when we have clients that are in that same position where you're ready ahead of time,
Hmm.
you're almost reversing into the show. So you're eating more as you get into the show, like you said. Um, I don't think there can be a better situation than that, where the opposite is you're chasing, you're cutting,
Right.
you're doing more cardio, and you're going to look flat.
Right.
Where this way it's going to allow her to stay fuller, keep that conditioning the whole time.
Mhm.
um, because the thing is, her Victoria show was not that long ago, so she's just been able to maintain. And I like the approach that her and Aaron are taking. Is they wanted to do New York. It's a prestigious show, number one,
Mhm.
so a great show to attend, but also it gives them that chance that they're still far away from Olympia, that
Mhm.
they can bring this new package. You can already tell it's going to be different than what we saw in Victoria,
Mhm.
and
I
get
agree.
more feedback. So
I
then
agree.
they know, and her goal is to get a better placing at Olympia than she would if she had to just gone straight from Victoria.
I agree. I agree. And again, I don't want to keep knocking this up there, but the fact that you're throwing your hat into the New York Pro, knowing that you already have a qualification, that's it. It's supposed to be this way. You should compete once or twice, or if you can, 3 times a year. Those judges will look at you, will give you feedback. You'll see where you stand. It only takes one or two girls to be off in order for you to get compared in
Oh
that
yeah,
top three. That's all it
yeah,
takes. And imagine if we get, an Emily next to an Elisa, an Emily next to a Giselle. When it comes down to it, these judges remember these poses. The judges remember, oh,
oh
remember
yeah,
the New York Pro. So
yeah.
this is exactly what needs to happen. Next up, we're going to talk about Edna De Souza. Edna is a very dangerous competitor. Okay, she's a smaller in height, but she's always in top tip shape. I've never seen her really off in any shows, maybe one. But again, she's one of these girls that, like we just talked, it only takes one or two girls. Remember Dexter Jackson, the same thing. He was
Yeah,
always in shape. And then next thing we know, she can jump in and just get up a little bit higher in that top three lineup.
for sure. I mean, the same happened with Olympia for our men's open bodybuilding with Derek Lunsford taking it. I mean, he looked phenomenal, but a lot of that happened because Heidi was just slightly off.
Mhm.
And that's what it takes. Sometimes that little slip in whatever, like I said, there's so much that can happen in that last week, and especially the last 24 hours even of your peak week. One thing can be off that can cost you that top placing sometimes. And if you are that up and comer that's really grinding and pushing hard, and you're consistently with the conditioning, and you have the great shape, that is opening that door for bumping up in the ranks.
Yes, Edna just needs to work on her posing. I've told her this before. She has had a time to, that she's walking here. The walk is very important. You got to be, confident in everything. She has done work on her midsection. Her midsection looks really, really good. Again,
Yes.
she's one of these girls that, again, if somebody's off, she can absolutely snag, a placing because she's always in tip top shape. Another competitor that people love to talk about is Chen Qi and Chen Qi Liu, I guess. And
Yeah.
this is another competitor that's crazy shredded year round, and you never see her with a tan, and you see that dry skin always with those veins and vascularity. This is typical from the Asian competitors. Great legs, but no pun intended, her glutes are not up to par to the legs. So we would have to see
Yeah.
how she stacks up with her glute and ham tines.
And that's I think a common thing I find, even especially when you're looking at amateur competitors in wellness,
Mhm.
um, where yes, there has to be a huge focus on your quad development, your hamstrings, the tie-ins, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's even similar to guys, where a lot of times guys either develop shoulders really well or they develop chest really well.
Mhm.
Rarely in the beginning do they develop both in unison. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of the women, is they're not putting the emphasis on the glutes, just thinking I have to get bigger quads, bigger hamstring, or sharper hamstrings. So um, definitely that is one of those things where in wellness, yes, you need to have the well defined, the larger legs, but you have to have the glutes, or else you're not gonna come close to being competitive.
Right. Again, it's not a knock because she checks all the boxes. Tremendous
Yeah,
calves, glute and ham tie-ins, the whole 9 yards. By herself, you can actually see, wow, she was really good, really impressive.
yeah,
But it's just a matter of the glute volume. Okay, this is just a
oh yeah,
matter of time, genetics, the whole nine. She has it all. Again, she
yeah,
has to build more muscle in her glutes. Again, by herself, she looks really darn good. This is next to
yeah,
other competitors like Giselle, for example. I did a video on Giselle, which she did the up and down standing straight up pose, which standing straight, you could see the whole glute pop out. And that's a genetic thing, you know? I mean,
oh
does she
yeah,
work out? Absolutely. But you know, it's a matter of nailing that muscle. It's an art form just for men to create their bicep peak. You know, it's an art
yeah,
form.
yeah.
All
The
right.
nice thing
So
is she's young. She's got lots of time to develop too. So she's just really getting started in this industry.
yeah, absolutely. And again, for Asian competitors, she must be, you know, one of the top rated, you know, wellness competitors in Asia, just because
Yeah.
she looks this damn good.
Oh
Next
yeah.
up, we got Sheila Guidry. Sheila, I know her personally very, very well. Sheila has been off the stage for quite a while. She went, she got married. We all know Cash Guidry, and she's been coaching her. I didn't know she was gonna jump into the show. This was kind of like a last minute thing, in my opinion. But the thing with Shayla is that she gets in shape very, very quick. And and when she competed, there were some shows there that I believe she could have snagged a win. But I didn't think the judges at that time were ready for that hard look. I think they were looking for a
Yeah.
softer look. And what she did was she went back to the drawing board and kind of got some mass because she's one of these competitors that when she diets down, she kind of looks a little bit smaller. What
Mhm.
is your take on this new package that Sheila has?
Well, she's definitely done her homework.
Mhm.
This is a definitely different physique than we've seen her. Like you said, it's been a little while. Um, so it'll be really interesting to see her in that lineup with this new physique that she's bringing. Um, Bigger, fuller, but still keeping that really good conditioning. So
Yeah,
it'll be exciting.
she took the right amount of time to work out. Again, these pictures right here that I'm showing with Cash, there's they say it's 4 to 5 days ago. No Photoshop, no blur, no light.
Hmm.
Again, people can say what they want. I've seen this girl transform in a matter of hours. Okay, when she did Puerto Rico right here at
Hmm.
check-ins, she was just another girl, and then at the show, she looked phenomenal. Okay, this girl looked really, really good. Again, her issue was that compared to her pictures from a month ago, she looked kind of smaller in this same show. But when you take almost 2 years to build what you need to build, your body changes and your composure
Yes.
changes. I really want to see her on stage and see how she stacks up. And if she does place well, if she does end up placing well, I don't know, top four, top five, it'll show people that if you take the right amount of time to prepare and build on your weak areas, it definitely will show.
Yeah. So, I mean, even with that, there's two things that come to mind for me. So the first one is um, for top competitors,
Mhm.
unless you're actually going through a growing phase where you need to add substantial amount of muscle. What keeps you improving show to show, I find, is when you don't let off too much with the conditioning. Obviously, in between shows, you do need to relax a little, but you should never be so far out that it's a transformation every show. And I think that's what happens with quite a few competitors is they take the off season too light um, when it comes to staying tight. Um, so then it's so much more work to get back to that conditioning come stage time. Um, and then the other thing is when you talk about her taking this time off for amateur competitors, I think sometimes they're too focused on rushing. Okay, I have a show in 16 weeks. I have to do that show. But if your physique is nowhere near ready, there's no rush. You're much better off taking some time, developing the muscle, the fullness that you need, especially for wellness, because it is a demanding category. And there's nothing to say that, you know, doing a show just to get that stage presence, especially if it's your first time getting on stage, getting out those nerves is ever a bad thing. But, you know, taking that time, like you see that she's done here, to really focus on what needs to happen. I'm going to take the time, build up where I need to, and then we'll see what happens when she's on stage on Saturday. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. As you see here, I called it right. It was May of 2022, and we're in May
Wow.
of 2024. You can see that glute is popping.
Yeah.
You can see those hamstrings, those quads. Her upper body kind of stayed the same. So what does that tell you? They focus on their lower body.
Yeah.
They focus on her new presentation. Again, we are telling, future competitors that this takes time, this takes
Oh, yeah.
effort, this takes conditioning to get into the show, eating right, doing the necessary things. And this is exactly what she's doing. She doesn't have, yeah, she has cero miedo, she has zero fear of anybody on that stage, and she can absolutely rock it. So we are really excited to see Sheila up there. We wish her the best. And last but not least, we have Lorena Ragusa. I have to talk about her because she is, from the Dominican Republic as Elisa Alcantara, but she's in New York. She loves Beth Francis Powerhouse Gym. She's always a big supporter of the wellness class. She's back on stage. Another competitor that I believe had a 2-year hiatus, and she's back on stage, as you can recall right here from these pictures, pretty much a couple of hours ago.
Yep. It's yeah, she's definitely coming back with a vengeance, I would say. She's ready to do it. Um, and I think she'll, as long as she can bring in the conditioning on stage, she'll be one to keep an eye on as well.
Yes, again, a lot of people that don't know about her, she's got another girl that's a little bit longer, torso wise, leg wise. She stands out on a lineup because she's that, taller. She has done great work. I know this is a show that she wanted to do because this is her favorite show, obviously, in New York. They have done a great job with her. I believe that again, it's mostly her lower body has to get in condition. We can't see any lumps. We have seen some lumps in her before, and that's something that she cannot afford to do on this stage or any stage. And it's a matter of knowing your body well, knowing what to do, what not to do. But again, it's a matter of showing up, and she did show up. Again, this is the show that I know she wanted to do, and she looks great up here. I believe this was probably a day ago in the East Coast Mega Beth Francis Powerhouse Gym, and her upper body seems great. She's absolutely great on the upper body. It's just, for some people, the lower body comes like at the end.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And a lot of women that um, you'll see competing. That's the way it is, and I think that's what for a lot of women the wellness category stood out for them was um, with not understanding what it was. I think in the beginning, um, even for myself, when I first heard about wellness coming, I have to say this isn't what I expected. I think it's a
Okay.
great category. It looks phenomenal, but um, I didn't expect it to be this developed in the lower body.
Okay.
Um, but it's exciting, you know. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just I I don't know what my vision was when it first was announced that it was coming to North America, but
Right.
it was I think I figured it was going to be a little bit more toned down, more just like a bikini leg, but fuller and larger, not
Okay.
not as toned and defined as we see here. So,
Right.
but it's real.
I believe in the elite shows, meaning like the Pittsburgh Pro, New York Pro, Arnold, Olympia. These are the top of the top, and the judges usually get that top six, and these girls leave usually no stone unturned. I remember telling people, our, sport is usually, qualified as a symmetry sport. This is the only class that it's symmetry upside down. So the
Yes.
symmetry kind of gets out of the way. But when it did start, the girls wanted to look good on stage and off stage. Again, there came a time and a point that some bikini girls looked really really skinny with a dress on. Meanwhile, our wellness girls back in South America, they looked really good with dresses on. They look healthy, they look bigger, they had curves, and that eventually translated into the mainstream girls which wanted to grab that look. But again, with that look, there's a special type of training that it's developed in other areas of the world, which is not necessarily an upper body training. It's more like a lower body dominant training, which eventually throughout the years it'll develop into this style of class. But I'm really happy that it's evolving. It's still evolving, and I think we're getting ready to see a better show, not only now in Pittsburgh, New York, but moving forward. Tampa Pro, Orlando,
Oh yeah.
Texas, all these great shows they're going to have in California, and eventually we'll be at the Olympia, and we'll see what happens. I am sure right now that the world champ Franciele Matos, she has been in all these shows, she's looking very close at the girls, especially Elisa Alcantara, which she seems to be on that boat to to those top three in the Olympia. So
Yeah.
that'll be it for those two. I don't know if we want to give your top predictions, maybe for top three right there, or top four, top five of all these girls that we talked about. What is your take on this?
Well, I don't know. I think, being the godfather of wellness, you're the one that we should really be asking that question of.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
but I think because we're so fresh off of Pittsburgh,
Mhm.
um, and like I said, a week is a lot of time to do a lot. Um, but I remember seeing Antoine Vaillant a couple years ago. Uh, where was it? I think he went to New York, placed I think it was seventh. Ended up going 1 week later to California and winning the show. So
Mhm.
you know, a week is a long time, and there's a lot can happen. I personally have a feeling that Elisa is still going to hold out and take that top spot. Um, uh, and Giselle should probably end up in second place. And just like you said, as a fan, I'd like to see Emily sort of squeak into that top three, but we'll just have to wait and see. But
Right.
what do you think are your top picks?
You have a whole week to get dry and get freaky, like Giselle knows how to get. If she does get that, as a fan, I would like her to win the show, because I mean
Mhm.
she won, and then at least I'll beat her at Pittsburgh, so we will get more
Yeah,
excitement at the Olympia. I will really like to see that. If Giselle cannot pull that back shot like we see on screen right now, if she can't, if she brings this back again, at least I will win hands down. And that will tell you the story going into the 2024 Olympia. I would like to see Emily the way she looks now. I would like to see her compared to these two. No,
yes,
no mistake about it. And then if you're gonna talk conditioning, I would like to see Edna next to Emily. And then
yeah,
if Shayla comes in here and magically transforms herself, you have three girls up there. You have Emily, you have Etna, and you have Shayla that can pull off extreme conditioning. What's going to
yes,
happen with those three? So again, Emily is it's in a good place right now, because again, if something happens with Giselle, who knows? Emily can snag us a top two, and trust me, for her to get a top two in the New York Pro, that's something humongous.
yeah. I agree. Yeah. I think it's an exciting show, and this is one of those classes coming into this show that, because we have the other girls that are coming back after a couple of years off, they're a bit of a dark horse, both of them. We don't know
Yes.
what to expect. They could sneak into that top three. So I think it's going to be a one of the better categories to watch this weekend. So
Yeah, it's gonna be a good show. You
there,
have Elisa and you have Giselle, which are like top four at the Olympia, and you have the other girls that are coming very hungry and very in top
Yes.
shape to probably snag a win here and there. So we would have to find out this weekend, and we will definitely keep you locked in. Keep it updated here, and Muscle Insider, and of course here on the Observer, and that's probably gonna be your one-stop shop for all things wellness.
That's right. You know it.
All right. For Andrew from Muscle Insider, this has been Johnny Styles. We hope to hear from you and see you this weekend at the New York Pro. Stay tuned and let's do this.